All right, from the student Fairfax City, we are very grateful that Kristoffer Gildenlöw accepted the invitation to our show. Kristoffer, welcome to my humble podcast.
Thank you very much. It's an honor to be here.
Hey, no problem, man. Kristoffer, let's go back to the beginning of your life. Were you born in a musical family? How old were you when you perhaps began taking guitar lessons, piano lessons when you were a little kid?
When I was small, it wasn't that much music, like as a musical family, as you see people do. We're listening to music, like the radio was always on. We're playing records, so there was always music, and there were guitars and a piano and stuff like that. But it's not like my parents were playing instruments or singing all the time. And but music was always there, and we picked it up, both my brother and I, especially my brother first. Of course, he's 5 years older than I am, so I got it from him, and we grew up in the early 80s with everything that's hard rock and hair metal and everything like that. That was really cool. I know my brother started more with Kiss, and I came in with like Twisted Sister, that kind of more in that kind of hair metal kind of scene. And as I say, yeah, there was a piano there. We played a piano just for fun. I think I was 7, 8 years old when I started taking piano lessons. My brother was on guitar. So yeah, and I did that for 6 years until I figured out the piano wasn't my biggest passion. I wanted to be a drummer or a bass player. So I picked up both those instruments from there. But there were no space left to take drum lessons. So I went for bass lessons, and I got stuck. I got stuck with playing the bass.
All right, good for you, man.
But I love all kind of instruments.
I got it. So guitar, piano, lesson, drums, all good stuff, man. And then, of course, in 1994, you went to school to study, bass guitar at a very famous college in Sweden, right?
Why they changed the system actually that year that I was supposed to start studying, and they had like musical education on small schools, different areas that you have to go to. Like my brother went, he had to go for an hour to go to that kind of school. And they changed the whole system, so every city is supposed to have exactly the same kind of education. So the city where I grew up also had to have a musical education on that level. So I was the first year out studying music at my own city.
Gotcha. Good for you. And of course, around the time you were 16, you were asked to fill in on a gig for your brother's band, Pain of Salvation, and then things went well, and then they asked you to become a full-time member in the year after, 95, right?
Yeah, well, just a few months later, actually. I started playing bass guitar, and their bass player stepped out, I think like half a year before that. And I mean, we were young, and you take what you can get, and there was like almost like a Christmas rock bash thing going on, for free at the local rehearsal studio. And they've been asked to play, but they didn't have a bass player. And they've seen me play with my own band. As I said, I was just 15, 16, playing rock and roll and whatever. So it's like, do you mind stepping in and do a couple of songs? I'm like, sure. But for me, they were so much bigger, so much better than I was. So that was like a really scary moment. Like, okay, I'll do my best, see what I can do. And it went well. And they're like, okay, why don't you join us? We're going to record a couple of songs, demos in a couple of months. Join, and the rest is history, as to say. So I jumped on the train, and we had 11, 12 great years together.
Good for you. And then in 97, right, Pain of Salvation released their first debut album, I think it's called Entropia, and then the second album,
Yeah.
1 Hour by the Concrete Lake, a year after. So, how you guys were doing? You guys were doing touring a lot at the time, and and with the
No, no,
second
no, no.
album, no.
I mean, it was very different. Sweden is quite a far away from the continental Europe in that
Yeah.
way, and it's a big country. So it's like 8-9 hour drive just to get to the border, to the southern border, and if you want to go to Germany or Denmark or something like that.
Right.
So we had some small gigs here and there, like very local. And it wasn't until the second album that InsideOut, our record label, put us on a tour with Threshold, which was also on InsideOut, it's one of their bands. And that was our first tour, and just magical. We still had to get out of Sweden on our own. We had to take cars and buses and whatever to get over the borders, and the big tour bus would pick us up in Germany. But yeah, that was amazing times, and for us, huge step into the more professional music world that we've been dreaming about, in the years before that, like growing up with Kiss and Mötley Crüe and Twisted Sister and all of that. And I was like, oh, that's where I want to be. It'll be awesome.
Good
Playing
for you,
air
man.
guitar in front of the mirror, and all of a sudden, like, yeah, we're in the studio. We're actually recording an album. It's going to be recorded. It's going to be released. It's going to be, at least something.
Sure,
And,
absolutely.
and
Absolutely.
things started rolling.
Good for you. And then, of course, a couple of years later, you released one of the probably very well received album called The Perfect Element. And then you got the opportunity to open up for Dream Theater during the tour, the 6 Degrees of Inner Turbulence tour. So, wow, that's a big difference. That obviously opening for a big band and releasing the album, it opened up a lot more doors for you guys. So.
Yeah, it was a great tour. To be on, everything was really working well, like a well-greased machine. So it was a pleasure to be on that tour and to see the guys. People look, oh, how often have you seen Dream Theater? I was like, well, 18 times from very close.
Sure.
So that was pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah. You were still very young. You were having a great time there,
been 22, 23. Yeah. It's
not too bad.
weird looking back at it. Like, wow, we were pretty young. Yeah. Even the release of Entropia, our first album, like, oh, we were pretty young. And listening to the album, like, okay, that was pretty good. for so young kids to get up, come up with something like that.
So make some money along the way as well. Getting paid for that.
Never been any money.
No.
The progressive hard rock world is just way too small, but it's lots of fun and a great audience. So that's what you do.
Good. So of course, then you in 2002. There was another great album called Remedy Lane. What memories do you have from that album?
Oh, ups and downs. It's a very personal album.
Yeah.
As they all are, but there's a lot going on. Actually, since The Perfect Element, there's a lot of things going on. There's a lot of emotions involved privately into these albums. The band started changing, and internally you couldn't see on the outside, you could see it on the inside. And as always, I think every band has it. You make music. Like the first album you make, you have a bunch of songs and you want to put it together, and that's who you are. And from that, you kind of, I wouldn't say you compete with yourself, but there's a little more pressure to make a new album, to make an album that maybe it's not better than the former album, but at least it's just as good. You don't want to disappoint people, but you don't want to disappoint yourself either. You want to stay true to yourself. but you also develop as a human and as a musician. So you want to make steps, you want to try different things, and every time you record an album, you try to do what you think is fun and what you like, and you believe in it. But there's always this doubt, like, are other people going to like it as well? Or are we doing a mistake? Is this a mistake, or are we doing the right thing? But we always stay true to ourselves. And as with, I think, every artist, as you're writing such an album, you're not thinking about it at the time as like, this is going to be a great album that people are going to like and adore for centuries. Did I say centuries? Decades, I would say. But
Yeah.
maybe, hopefully, centuries. But, you know, afterwards, in the aftermath, you know, people, this is your greatest album. Like, we didn't look at it like that at the moment, you know. And we just recorded and made the best music that we could think of at the moment.
No, of course, it's always complicated, and bands evolve and disagreement. People want to do solo stuff, and other people know I want the album to be that way and that
Yeah.
way, and it's always like being in a band. It's like being married to 5 people. You know, it's
Yeah.
tough to make everybody happy. You know, different people have different motivation, and they want to start a family. They want to lead. They want to tour more, and you know, a lot of stress. Record labels put pressure on you guys. So you stay with the band until 2005, 20 years ago, and then you end up recording the 12.5 and then the album B, which is studio version, live version, a DVD as well. That I have some of them, not all of them. But so what memory do you have for that? And of course, there was a pivot point in your life, you know, leaving a big band and try to go on your own and do everything on your own has positive and negative stuff, you know.
I moved to the Netherlands in 2003.
Gotcha.
So for the next 3 years, it was going back and forth between the Netherlands and Sweden when we needed to rehearse or record stuff like that. And you know, you do everything for the band, but you also try to juggle your family life along with that. And like, we recorded the 12.5. It was 1 week before I got married. So, you know, you're doing everything you can do to get like a marriage ceremony up and running and a party and everything like that. And like, oh, by the way, I have to go to Sweden to record an album. It's a live album, so it's a live show, but it was acoustic, and we had to rearrange all the songs to fit that way, which is a lot, you know, great fun. And after that, we did the B album when my wife was pregnant. So, you know, I had to be away when she was pregnant. And, okay, how is this going to work? Which also was a very interesting, very creative album. Like, B was actually a collaboration with a local cultural, how do you say it, like a cultural organization from our city.
Yep.
And we had done Jesus Christ Superstar with them 2 years before that, 1 year before that, where they asked us like, hey, it's Jesus Christ Superstar. So we got the choirs, we got the actors, and we have the classical musicians. But we need a rock band to be, because it's a rock opera. So how does Painful Chronicles feel like being the rock band in this? So we did that, and that kind of moved into a cooperation, working together with them on something new. Like, how would you like to do something completely new for this cultural organization? And that's when Daniel started writing B. So a lot of time pressure, and we just swung it as we were going, because, you know, we went up on stage the first gig for that production, and the lyrics weren't even, you know, completed yet. And you have the live version and you have the studio version, and you can even hear the different lyrics on the two different versions because they weren't finished yet. So we're kind of running, like, we had a deadline, we had to go on stage and play the songs. But wasn't even completely done yet, and we needed to fix the projections going in the back screens, the videos, and everything like that. And but it was great fun. We learned so much, and then we toured that in 2005. Went on 2 legs and to South America. First time for me then in Brazil. So that was a lot of fun.
Good for you.
And
you didn't go down
it.
south to Argentina and Chile. You didn't go down south to southern.
No, only Brazil.
Only Brazil, okay.
Bus rides, from 24-hour bus rides. It's a huge country, but it was lots of fun. But I didn't know then that would be the last gigs for me for Pain Installation.
Yeah.
So 2006, I was out of the band.
Yeah. Well, but then you turned your life around in 2007. You end up releasing Synchronize, right? With Dial, right?
Since I was living in the Netherlands, I didn't rehearse as much as I maybe wanted to or could with Pain Installation. So I needed something to do musically. So me and a friend and my wife, we kind of started making music together. They're all musicians. My wife's a musician as well. And so we started, fooling around on ideas and music and see whatever that could bring. And when I was, out of the band, it's like, okay, let's do something more serious about this. But that whole album was like a series of fortunate events when we were actually just supposed to make a demo. So like, hey, let's make a demo, see what we can do. And my wife knew Devon Graves from Psychotic Waltz. At that time, he did the Dead Soul Tribe. Sorry. And she just sent him an email. It's like, hey, would you mind doing a duet with me on this song? And he was like, I'm not sure, but send me the demo that you have and we'll see. So we sent him the music and he was like, this sounds awesome. You know what? You have to come here because he lives in Austria. It's like, you have to come to my studio in Austria. I'm going to record it. I'm going to produce it. I'm going to sing on it. So we went there and recorded it. And while we were recording it, I got a mail from a record company in the US. It's like, I heard from someone who heard from someone that you're busy doing another album. Can I release it? It's like, sure. So we had a record deal and we released the album, and people knocked on our door to make videos, to bring us up on tours, and we played a lot of gigs with Dial at the following years. So that was a lot of fun.
Good for you, man. Good for you. Good for you. Of course, and then in 2012, you ended up releasing another great record, your first solo album called Rust, right? 12 years ago. Yeah. What memory do you have for that one?
It was, like Dial Synchronize was for me like the first dipping my toe into making my own music. I didn't really make music with Pain Installation. And so this was me trying out, stretching my wings and let's see, can I make a couple of songs as well?
Yeah.
And I had all these kinds of ideas to make music, like progressive metal music, hard rock music, maybe solo bass kind of things, all these kind of ideas. And I started making songs first for Dial and then for myself. And I just came up with so many songs that were so much more mellow than like progressive hard rock, progressive metal, that I kind of like, okay, I have to put this hard rock metal thing in the fridge for a while. This is what I have to do right now. So those were the songs from Rust. And I recorded those with quite a bit of help from friends who joined me as guest musicians on drums and guitars and vocals and lots of stuff like that. And Yeah, I mixed it and we mastered it, and I came from, as I said, the 80s, grew up in the 80s, but we started making music in the 90s, and the LPs, the vinyls was completely dead in the 90s. No one wanted vinyls. I see you have a whole bunch behind you. So I was maybe a little bit ahead of time, but I was like, I've never released an album on vinyl. I'm going to release an album on vinyl. So Rust
Absolutely.
Rust was only initially released on vinyl. So it was only a vinyl version. And it's like, because I want to. And a year afterwards, a record company's like, yeah, we want to re-release Rust on CD, if you're okay with that. So then
Gotcha.
a year later, 2013, the CD version came. But it was a lot of experimenting and getting a lot of things out of my soul, out of my heart into that album.
Gotcha. But those are great albums. I don't have everything, but I have some of them. I listen to your music, and I listen to the band that you have played with, and you're a very talented guy, man. So,
Oh, thank you very much.
but I
Just
know
do
as
my
a
best.
musician, huh?
Just doing my best.
Yeah, and if try to make a living as a musician is always tough, 40 years later, in 2016, you end up releasing The Rain.
Yeah.
That's a very good album, man. That's a
Oh,
very
thank
good.
you. It took quite some time before I picked it up again and started making music. It's usually like that. If you have just released something, there's a bit of a hole. And it's not a hole in your soul, but it's like you just put something out there, and you. So it took a while, and again a very big concept on dementia with lots of things that needed to get fixed. I didn't want to do too much on MIDI and synthesizers. Like I really wanted the real instruments, like a real accordion, the real church organ, real choirs, real strings, and working on your own, doing everything your own. You have to be everywhere every time something's getting recorded. You have to be there. You have to do the communication. You have to do the planning. You have to get everything. So it takes a little bit of a while. But yeah, we got The Rain out, which I think promotion-wise was the most difficult album I've ever done, because it's been released on 3 different record companies. They keep on failing me. There was no promotion, there was no distribution, and that's kind of when I realized I have to do everything. I have to do everything myself. Do I have to do everything myself? Yes, I have to do everything myself. So from Homebound on, the third album, I started my own record company. I worked with different distribution and promoters, but I wouldn't say I wanted to control everything, but I wanted to at least know what's going on, because
Sure.
you have an album, that's your child, that's your love child.
Baby.
You spend
Baby.
hours and hours on it. You spend a lot of money doing it. You're recording it. You have session musicians. You have studio times. You have and then you give it to a record company who doesn't feel about the album the way you do, and doesn't have the same priorities as you do, and they don't promote it, or they don't distribute it, or stuff like that. So it's kind of a waste of time, and a waste of money, and a waste of good music. So for Homebound, I took everything into my own hands, and I started New Joke Music.
Yep.
Since then, I've been doing everything under my own label.
And then obviously we have the pandemic around the time, so that was another problem.
As well.
From one problem to another,
Oh yeah. It was I've released 5 albums. I'm working on my 6th album right now, but I released 5 albums, and the album Empty, which was released last year, was actually supposed to be my 3rd album.
Gotcha.
And I had the same thing as when I was recording, or when I'm writing for Rust, as in like I had so much music, but it was different kinds of music. So I was writing actually for Empty, which is more of a prog rock kind of album, but I had more songs already written, that were more like acoustic kind of songs, that were a little bit more easygoing singer-songwriter kind of ish. That I finally decided, like, these songs they don't belong on the same album. I have to take them apart. And since I had most of the songs already done for Homebound, like I recorded them at the same time, both albums. It was easier to finish Homebound first, because I had the lyrics, I had most of the instruments, everything written. So I came up with the idea to release Homebound in 2020 in the spring, and then I'd release Empty in the fall of the same year, of 2020. So 2 albums in 1 year, kind of like an in-between thing, and then on to Empty, which was the main album.
Yeah.
But then, of course, as you said, the COVID hit, and Homebound was hardly distributed. They disappeared. You could not distribute it. Everything got closed down. We couldn't promote it or anything. And of course, that hindered me from continuing recording Empty, because I needed guest musicians to record Empty to finish it off. But no one was allowed to leave their house. So in 2020, Homebound was the only album that I released. And I put Empty in the fridge. Like, okay, I'll come back to that once things kind of cool down. But I couldn't sit still, so I kept on making music. And so in between Homebound and Empty, you got Let Me Be a Ghost, which was supposed to be like an EP, until we realized, like, okay, I can release an EP, but that's going to cost me production wise just as much as a regular album. So, like, why not make a regular album? So let's record 3 more songs and get that one going. And Let Me Be a Ghost is mostly just me. There's a couple of guest musicians who could record at their own studios or their homes. So that's why I could complete that album before I could complete Empty. So
Wow.
Empty was supposed to be my 3rd album, but became my 5th album.
So your 5th, gotcha. Man, it's very difficult. How in general terms, how difficult is it to make a living as a musician?
These times and days are very difficult.
Very difficult, right?
I'm not going to do the whole complaining about, Spotify or all that kind of stuff, because, there's a lot of positive things. There's a lot of positive things and negative things with, I would say, the digital world that we're living in.
Yeah.
I think we're not the only ones, I wouldn't say suffering, but the music industry, just like the film industry, just like writers, as soon as something gets digital, it kind of loses a bit of value in a way. Like,
yeah.
We notice, especially younger generations, who kind of expect their music to be free. We're from a different generation. We expect that we can pay 20, 30, 40, maybe 50 euros or dollars for an LP, because we want the physical thing. We want to play whenever we want to.
That's right, yeah.
Just looking at my own daughter, who I think she has 3 CDs and 2 LPs, and I bought those for her. She does everything on either YouTube Music or Spotify. And if you couldn't get it for free there, she'll get it for free somewhere else. I failed miserably in my in my parenthood.
Yeah.
But it's everything like that. When we started with illegally downloading films, it's the same thing. We're kind of expecting to get them for free. I'm expecting myself to be able to watch a film that just, it's it's just been in the cinema, and 2 months later I can stream it on Netflix or HBO or wherever,
Yeah.
and it doesn't cost me anything more than the regular fee that I would pay anyway.
Sure.
And that's my thing when people say like, well, I pay for Spotify, so I can listen to your album because I paid for it. It's like, well, you didn't pay for Spotify to listen to me. You paid Spotify to listen to, I don't know, Iron Maiden, Metallica, whatever, the big ones that are important for you, and I'm the freebie that comes along with it.
That's right.
But
Yeah.
then again, a lot of people have found me through Spotify or similar, like, they've gone on a hunt and tried to find new music, and they found me, and I've gained new fans that way, and people who actually did buy the album, and so there's just a lot of positive things in there. The what I actually want to underline is that the world is changing, and the music world, I think, hasn't really figured out what to do with this. So that we're not quite sure how we're gonna. We have to be able to make money, otherwise we can't. The studio still costs money, pressing still costs money, distribution and promotion still costs money. We have to be able to pay for this. How? If there's no money coming in, and people don't want to pay to go to a concert because it's too expensive, or there are too many bands playing. All your favorite bands are still playing. So I think there's a lot of figuring out that needs to be done in the music world, and how to keep this sustainable for the artists, for the labels, for everyone that's working in music. Like, everyone has this problem. It's not only the artist. The record labels are falling over, the pressing plants are falling over, the venues are falling over. I live in the Netherlands, which is a weird place right now, where you can hardly get any gigs. There's a lot of venues, but unless you play tribute band or a cover band, they don't want you, because people don't really go to original music anymore. They just go to see a cover band play their favorite hits. Because these are difficult times, but I'm sure we'll figure it out somewhere along the way.
But at least in Bandcamp, it's fair, because you get 90 cents of a dollar, and whether you sell CDs or did on the low or cassette or vinyl, at least a big chunk of money goes to you, so to the band and so forth. So
you notice as a band, because I spoke to my brother as well, like the major part where you sell albums, like physical albums or downloads, is like in a pre-sale. So the months before the actual release, and then you have a couple of weeks after the release for the people who want to buy it from their own record store, and then after that it's at gigs. That's the only place you sell. It's the same as music. The same as like films. You notice that music has a very short lifespan. You're very popular, in the months before, and then you release it, and you have 1, maybe 2 months max, and then people have forgotten about you, and then there's the next new thing, the next album, the next musician, the next thing. The same thing with films. Like, you used to have your favorite film. There would be a new, I don't know, James Bond or whatever coming out. And people would talk about it for, I don't know, half a year, maybe 2 years, if you had a really good film coming out. And I was like, that's the new Avengers, whatever. And, I lost track of all the films that are coming out. There's like so much of it. But it's also much more, I wouldn't say less quality, but there's definitely much more quantity going on.
Quality,
and that you see in the music as well. You see how many bands there are on Spotify, for instance. Like, so much. I don't want to say anything of it is bad. There's a lot of great music, just very, very much.
That's right. Yeah, like I know exactly what you're saying. And when you say Spotify, you need to have like 1 million hits to get $10 to get a cup of coffee or something, which is, well, it's another,
to stick out at all, to
to stick it
be
out. Yeah,
something, be someone. And the music industry or the labels used to have, they used to be, for good or worse, kind of like the gatekeeper. They decided which bands were, artists or bands were good enough to actually be released, and everyone else, their dream was broken. I couldn't make it as a musician, so let's do something else. So in a way that was good, because you had less music and more focus on the music that was released. The bad thing was, of course, that you missed a lot of great opportunities, great musicians who never got the chance, who never got the spotlight, who never got out. And that's the positive part with the modern electronic world that we live in, because YouTube and Bandcamp, as you said, Spotify, it's much easier for bands or artists to record the music at home with a laptop these days, get something decent out of it, and release it. And there's a lot of great music coming out that way, but it's also flooding. So I always say, like, I'm convinced that if it wasn't for the modern music, I'd probably never have a record deal or release any albums, because I wouldn't cut it. So I'm in that way happy this world exists. But I also, the wave, the scale is moving up and down, the positive side, the bad side. But that's life, It's
no, absolutely, I completely agree with you. Any possibility of touring in the fall next year with? Well, you have played with a lot of different bands, so any of the bands that you're involved?
I really hope I could go on a support act tour with the next album. But the same there. It's very difficult. I know a lot of bands who take on smaller bands, but you have to pay to play. So you have to buy on the tour. You can buy your seat in the tour bus, stuff like that. Which is really good. But the situation I have is that I'm a solo artist, which means that I myself, as one person, would have to pay for the tour bus, pay for the sound and light engineers, and pay for the band that comes with me on tour. And that's just very expensive. So I hope we're just going to start up. The vacations are now going full on. So I think in September we'll start talking with distribution, with promotion, see how we can do anything with this, see if we can get a booker, see if we can find a bigger band that wants to have me on tour. And
so at least as a support band, and
I'd love to be support for a fairly big band. Who could stand in the venue for between 400 and 1,000 people. That would be
good, man. Yeah,
that would be good. Yes.
Kristoffer, feel free to mention the website where people can buy your music, and I will be putting the link anyway. But feel free to mention that.
Well, it's very simple. It's KristofferGildenlöw.com. All my information is there. As always, you notice that people go to social media first. I'm only on social media because this doesn't seem to be much else going on. It's very hard to reach out anywhere else, but it's become a very jaded media these days, with mostly just sponsored links and whatever advertisements.
Absolutely.
But, you can find me on social media. Just Google my name and of course my homepage. You can find my albums, my music, my videos, anything, and I'm happy to share.
Gotcha. I will be putting the link there. It was very nice, Kristoffer, talking to you. Good luck to you. Your music is great, but then, as you say before, it takes a little bit of luck. Another band give you opportunity to be a support, and you need to pay your own dues and spend money to play. Pay to play. They call it, right? So it's tough, man. But you're doing all right, and your music is great, man. So let me keep me posted, and let me know if anything else can do to help you in
thank you very much.
Promoting your next album, or when you go on tour again next year or whatever.
We're looking for a release in March, April next year.
Okay, that will be well. For sure, we'll have a follow-up conversation at the time, man.
I hope so too.
Okay, man. It was very nice talking to you, Kristoffer. Good luck to
Thank you.
man.
You too.
No problem. Take it easy, man. Thank you.
Bye. Bye.
All right.